Our story begins on Wednesday, the 11th, with 4 teenagers: Jenny, Phil, Sandra, and Tim. They are engrossed in a scary conversation about the infamous serial killer known as the Blissfield Butcher. This infamous killer has been terrorizing the town since the 1970s, leaving a trail of unsolved crimes behind him. They assume it's just a silly little story. Well, do we have news for them? As the conversation progresses, Tim and Sandra decide to go inside to get a bottle of wine. Meanwhile, Ginny and Phil, caught up in the moment, engage in a passionate make-out session. What they don't know is that inside Jenny's house is a mystical dagger called La Dola, which holds secrets and power beyond their imagination. The situation takes a sinister turn when Tim is left alone outside. He rams a bottle of wine into Tim's throat, causing it to shatter, and the fangs penetrate his body, killing him instantly. Unaware of this horrific event, Sandra becomes the next victim. The butcher crushes her head with a toilet seat, leaving no room for escape. The butcher now sets his sights on Ginny and Phil, the last 2 teenagers left. With unflinching determination, he hits Phil in the head with a broken tennis racket. Ginny, the last target left, finds herself cornered in the living room. She is stabbed with a rod as the butcher pursues her ruthlessly, sealing her tragic fate. Later, Ginny's parents return home, and their happiness turns to unimaginable sorrow when they find their daughter's lifeless body. They are deeply shocked to find that the mysterious dagger La Dola is nowhere to be found. It is the morning of Thursday, the 12th, and we find ourselves in the life of Millie Kessler. Millie lives with her mother, Paula, and her older sister, Charlene, a dedicated police officer. However, their once close-knit family is struggling after the death of her father, which happened a year ago. Her mother seems controlling, and Millie follows her commands out of guilt. At school, Millie finds solace in her friends Josh and Nyla. Excitement boils over among the 3 as they discuss the much-anticipated upcoming homecoming dance. Despite her doubts, Millie feigns indifference and insists she will have a good time with her mother. There is also our usual mean girl, Ryler, who enjoys tormenting Millie at every turn. To add to her troubles, the woodshop teacher, Mr. Bernardi, makes the situation worse by giving Millie an untimely presentation. Caught off guard, Millie is publicly humiliated in front of the entire class and her secret love, Booker. As tensions rise, the class is hit by an unexpected disruption. News of a series of gruesome murders spreads like wildfire. That same night, Millie performs as the mascot for the school's football team, the Beavers. As the game reaches its climax, the atmosphere is filled with excitement. Once the game is over, Millie anxiously awaits her mother, Paula, to come pick her up. Unfortunately, her excitement turns to disappointment when she calls Paula and finds her irresponsible mother lying on the couch, completely drunk. Thankfully, Charlene is there to save her and offers to pick her up. However, things don't look good for Millie when she suddenly finds herself in front of the butcher. The butcher pursues her relentlessly and grabs her to scare her. The chase leads them to the football field, where the butcher ominously waves a mysterious weapon, La Dola, above his head. In one strange moment, the ground beneath them undergoes a bizarre transformation. The butcher rushes towards her and brutally stabs La Dola over her shoulder. Just when it seems all is lost, Charlene finally arrives, armed with a shotgun. Without hesitation, she fires, causing the butcher to retreat into the darkness. Relieved but deeply shaken, Charlene picks up her wounded sister and hurries back home. But something is very wrong. Millie's behavior has changed drastically, and she is no longer the sister Charlene once knew. On Friday, the 13th, the butcher wakes up inside Millie's body. Bizarrely moving, Paula sees this as a manifestation of the trauma she suffered from stabbing Millie. Meanwhile, Millie herself regains consciousness inside the butcher's body near the old mill. Taking advantage of this situation, the butcher disguises himself as Millie and arrives at school, giving her a seductive look that attracts everyone's attention. Ryler visits Butcher and heads into the locker room to get some information on the situation from last night. Sensing danger, Millie also arrives at the school and tries her best to hide. On the other hand, the butcher hides Ryler, and eventually traps him in a freezer where he freezes to death. As Millie continues her search, she comes across Josh and Nyla, who try to escape. Cornering them in the kitchen, Millie manages to calm their hostility. To prove her identity as Millie, she performs the dance of the Beavers' cheerleading team. Josh and Nyla realize that she is their friend, and they ask her some personal things that only Millie would know, thereby confirming her identity. After Millie mentions the dagger, Josh and Nyla go to Josh's Spanish teacher for guidance. They learn that the change between bodies becomes permanent after 24 hours, leaving them with only 9 hours to reverse the change and return Millie to her original form. Later, Millie finds herself in an uncomfortable situation in the bathroom. To his dismay, he finds hateful comments written about him on the stall walls. Just when matters start to get worse, a student enters and makes a derogatory remark. Millie eventually takes advantage of the butcher's intimidating appearance and manages to scare the boy away. In a different turn of events, the butcher encounters Mr. Bernardi, who turns brutal again. He vows to take revenge on the man. Later, he finds the teacher alone in the classroom. Taking precautions, the butcher puts on a protective coat and goggles, and prepares for a gruesome encounter. With a saw in hand, the butcher gruesomely struggles with Bernardi. He plunges a screwdriver into Bernardi's neck. The final blow comes when the butcher thrusts Bernardi's body into the saw, gruesomely splitting him in two. The news of the butcher's presence spreads like wildfire. The butcher comes out of the wood shop and catches the attention of Millie, Josh, and Nayla. The butcher immediately informs the authorities about their presence. Thus, a chase begins between the police and Millie in the body of the butcher. They escape from the police, but their plan runs into trouble when Charlene joins them. In a hurry, they manage to make some distance and find refuge in a nearby mall. In search of a temporary hiding place, Josh and Nayla take Millie to a changing room, to hide her from curious eyes. Meanwhile, they think of a plan to wear a disguise for Millie. Without their knowledge, Paula, who works in the shop, sneaks into the changing room to help. Unknowingly, she finds herself talking to her own daughter Millie. They both share their longing for Millie's absent father. Paula feels a connection to this mysterious man, but is disappointed when Millie, to keep her cover, claims to be married. Meanwhile, Charlene realizes Paula is in danger and rushes to retrieve her. As tensions mount, Josh and Nyla return just in time, wearing a rubber mask, to help Millie escape. They head to the arcade to find the butcher. At the arcade, the butcher finds himself with some players who are grumbling about a dance being cancelled. Sensing an opportunity, the butcher, disguised as Millie, proposes an alternate plan, and heads to the old mill. The butcher also senses Booker's crush on Millie and tries to bludgeon her to death. Millie and her friends arrive, however, and foil the butcher's sinister plan. Acting quickly, they subdue both Booker and the butcher, knocking them unconscious. The group of friends decide to bring Booker and the captured butcher to Josh's house. After a brief confusion, Miley manages to convince Booker of her true identity. She does so by reciting a sentimental poem that she left for him in his locker several weeks ago. Meanwhile, Josh is tasked with keeping a close eye on the tied-up butcher, to make sure he stays safe, while the others go to collect the dagger from the police station. We all know how this ends. At the station, Nyla shares a revelation with a skeptical Charlene. She claims that the infamous butcher has kidnapped both her and Josh, and that he has somehow tracked them to this location. Concerned about the seriousness of the situation, Charlene heads out to investigate while Nyla continues her search. Meanwhile, Booker has a nice conversation with Miley inside the car. He confesses that he has had a deep crush on her for quite some time. Booker expresses a desire to kiss her, and their lips accidentally meet. However, Millie soon realizes a disturbing truth. He is still in the serial killer's body, so he is actually kissing the butcher, not her. Back at Josh's house, his mother makes a shocking discovery. She finds Millie bound and gagged. Offering to help, she tries to free her from the bonds, but is horrified to see that the butcher suddenly breaks free and makes a threatening attempt to chase Josh and his mother. The butcher runs to the station, where chaos ensues. In the midst of the chaos, Millie and Booker rush to the station, coincidentally meeting Charlene, who has just re-entered the building, and now suspects Nyla. Meanwhile, the butcher finds an opportunity to steal Charlene's cruiser, complicating matters further. Josh joins them, and without explanation, they lock Charlene in a closet as she tries to attack Millie. Knowing that the old mill is the dance venue, they quickly make their way there. It becomes painfully clear that the butcher's malicious intentions are probably to murder everyone in that eerie old mill. The stage is set for a thrilling dance. Brett, driven by his sinister intentions, tries to lure the butcher, whom he thinks is Millie, to a secluded spot. With his companions, he carries out a heinous crime. However, the butcher immediately takes matters into her own hands, smashing a bottle over the head of one attacker and slitting the throat of another. In a shocking turn of events, she grabs a chainsaw and brutally slashes Brett's waist. Meanwhile, their friends realize that time is precious. They realize they only have 13 minutes before an irreversible change occurs. Determined to beat the ticking clock, Booker diligently sets the alarm on Millie's watch, and together they set out in search of the butcher. In the midst of the chaos, an aggressive player boldly advances towards Josh, but his advances are abruptly halted when the butcher stabs him in the eye with a fork. As tensions mount, the police arrive on the scene and begin searching for them. Millie is arrested for overpowering the butcher, halting their frantic search for a while. However, with the help of their loyal friends, they unite their forces to overcome the butcher. Victorious, they succeed in bringing the formidable man to his knees. Yet, their happiness does not last long as they are startled by the shrill sound of an alarm, signaling that their time is up. But wait, a ray of hope emerges from Booker's earlier revelation. He had mentioned setting his alarm 5 minutes ahead as an encouragement. Could this small gesture be the key to their success? A wave of determination surges through their hearts when they realize there may still be a chance. In a bold move, Millie puts La Dola into the butcher's body, hoping to reverse this horrific transformation and restore normalcy. And thankfully, she succeeds. The police surround the butcher, determined to end his reign of terror. Without hesitation, they open fire to stop the butcher once and for all. Millie is relieved to be reunited with her friends, and feels a deep sense of gratitude. As Millie slowly recovers from this traumatic experience, there is a moment of tenderness between her and Booker. They draw closer to each other, their lips meeting in a long-awaited kiss. Josh and Nyla cheer happily, celebrating this triumphant display of love amid the chaos. Meanwhile, the butcher, whose wounds are serious, is being carried into the ambulance. Paramedics work frantically to stabilize him, but a sudden drop in his heart rate becomes a cause for concern. Returning home, Millie seeks solace with her mother and sister. However, the peace does not last long as a disturbing sound shatters the silence. She is horrified to discover that the butcher has somehow survived and launches a fierce attack on the unsuspecting trio. In a desperate attempt to save herself, Charlene pulls out a gun and aims it at the ruthless butcher. Yet, to her surprise, the butcher disarms her and takes aim with pinpoint accuracy. Paula and Charlene soon find themselves helpless, with Millie as their only hope. Despite being cornered and taunted by the butcher, Millie refuses to give in to his cruel taunts. With determination and the knowledge she has gained while in his body, she delivers a powerful kick to the butcher's testicles. This unexpected move weakens the butcher, giving her a crucial opportunity to overpower him. Taking advantage of the situation, Millie grabs a broken table leg and turns it into a weapon. With one powerful blow, she pierces the butcher and finally puts an end to the bad guy.